I am going to begin by telling you a story, my story. My name is Jolyn Franklin. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I grew up in a household with 3 siblings and a single mother. Since childhood, I've always wanted to be a doctor. Anytime someone would ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up, I always answer, a doctor. I don't have anyone in my family who is a doctor or even in the healthcare field, so I don't have any familial inspiration from that aspect. However, my mother and oldest brother both suffer from mental illness, and from those two is where my aspiration originated. As a young girl, I watched my mother go through severe episodes of depression. It was during those times that I confirmed within myself that I wanted to be a physician, a psychiatrist specifically at that time. I would spend hours at a time Google searching their diagnosis to learn and see, ways that I can help and notice and what I witnessed in their behavior, see if it resembled with anything that I was reading. So fast forward about a decade, I was entering college as a biology major. My dream of becoming a doctor was a bit distorted from negative thinking and false limitations that I had placed on myself. However, I knew that I still wanted to work in the healthcare field. I gained a great interest in childhood obesity as a result of an internship I participated in last summer. I worked as a camp facilitator for the Youth Active and Media Savvy project, the YAMS project, which uses an adaptive model to discover best practices for combating childhood obesity among minorities ages 8 to 14. From here, I then changed my major to food nutrition with thoughts of becoming a registered dietitian. The fall semester of my sophomore year into the month-long winter break, I found myself thinking more deeply about pursuing medical school and returning to that dream. One of my mentors at school literally mentioned medical school every single time I visited his office, which is about 3 to 4 times a week, so it's kind of ringing in my mind a lot. I began to seriously seek God and pray about whether medical school was for me or not. I remember I heard very clearly that I was going to be a doctor. So being here at Nationwide Children's Hospital has really rocketed my pursuit to an entirely new level. And I'm so thankful for that. I know without a shadow of doubt that medical school is in my future, and I will complete it with the letters MD after my name. Which brings me to my first key point, without a shadow of doubt. So this entire experience has been inspiring just from being here in this hospital environment, working closely with amazing individuals who have been where I am before. However, the greatest inspiration that I've received was on the Saturday morning of June 28th. I was invited to a panel discussion, a panel comprising 5 African American women who have just started residency. The event was held for middle to high school girls who all aspire to work in the medical field and who are a part of the Kennedy Club, which is inspired by a woman named Dr. Alexa Kennedy, who was the first female African American neurosurgeon. Each of the panel members gave their audience such a transparent glimpse into what life was like for them during their medical school pursuits. They spoke about financial adversities they had to overcome, family issues they had to balance with, and even facing rejection from medical school. All of which I can relate to from some aspect or another. I left the discussion feeling very inspired and just empowered to keep on striving and pushing on, even when huge mountains that seem impossible to get over may rise. So moving on to, being here has kind of like made me want to, medical school, thinking about medical school. I made a list of medical schools that I'm interested in. And it's like you see a few of them with, their matching logos, and the top one up top being my first choice that I would just be so honored to attend, and it's actually in Nashville. Many of you may probably already know that, where I go to school in Nashville now, so that'd be amazing, to say the least. Yes. And moving on to my next major point, We're going to be talking about the shadowing that I experienced here and other awesomeness that I've been going through. So I got to witness, I was in an OR with a surgeon performing an atrial septal defect and ventricular septal defect surgical repair on a 2-month-old baby, and just being in the operating room with my scrubs. I wish I had pictures, but I don't. It's all right. It was just know it was amazing. Even when he began, the smell was different. You know, I expected the smell to be different, but it's different from expectation and actually smelling the different smell. So it was cool. So the other shadowing I did was with the Center for Healthy Weight Nutrition. That was great. Just being there and seeing how they interact with their patients from that multidisciplinary approach. Just amazing. And like I said, I have such a great interest in everything around the treatment of that. So that was awesome. And also got to shadow with Dr. Winters, who is on an off-campus clinic dealing with obesity as well. And there was a young girl. I got to kind of like relate to her a little bit and share a little bit of my story. Kind of growing up, I was, you know, a little overweight child, kind of obese, probably, and standing here before you, I'm not the most fit person. But it was just cool to just be able to relate to her on that level and, you know, tell her, you know, hey, I've been there. I remember being in your shoes, sitting in the doctor's office, you know, him telling me you need to lose some weight, not those words, but it was just great to be able to tell her it's going to be okay, you can get over it. And then the emergency department shadowing was awesome as well. I saw an x-ray of a person who got shot in the leg, and the bullet went straight through, and that was cool. And also a baby. She was okay though. And a baby, I saw the abscess being drained, and she was screaming for her life, and that was I was holding her down too. So yeah, I helped. And also a little boy, he cut his foot. He had like a thick cut on his foot, and the orthopedic doctor, he sutured his tendons and all of that. So that was pretty amazing. So now I'm going to move on to my project that I partook in with the Center for Healthy Weight Nutrition. Studies show that overweight adolescents are more likely to have disturbed eating behaviors compared to normal weight adolescents. Dr. Sternstein from the Center for Healthy Weight Nutrition noticed that many patients reported always feeling hungry. So she came up with the idea to create a hunger chart, hoping that it would help patients relearn their natural internal hunger cues and distinguish those from psychological hunger. I did a lit search on psychological hunger because I wanted to find out a bit more about these disturbed eating behaviors from a psychological standpoint. The article I found most interesting was from the European Journal of Obesity. The paper introduces health professionals to different psychological models thought to influence eating behavior in the absence of hunger in children who are obese, and it was to propose a method of assessing these behaviors in actual practice. So I won't go over all the different models, but there is one that I found interesting, and I never heard it before. Well, I heard of it, but the way that it was spoke about, I never thought of it that way, never heard of it that way. So that's the one that I want to talk a little bit about. It's called restrained or controlled eating. And this is simply when one consciously tries to limit, restrict, or cut back on the overall amount of food that they eat. Pretty simple. Both adults and children who are obese often report dieting attitudes and use of rigid weight loss practices, wanting to cut back. The article recognizes both dieting and dietary restraint as separate and clearly defined variants of disturbed eating. In children who are obese, dietary restraint attitudes and dietary behaviors are often observed and can be alternated with disruption and binge eating, which paradoxically can lead to weight increase. It is also hypothesized that failures of restraint behavior cause distress, which in turn promotes more emotional eating and difficulties in discriminating real feelings of hunger and satiety. As a result, susceptibility to abnormalities in eating patterns is likely to increase, and strict dieting as well as dietary attitudes are therefore identified as risk variables for eating disturbances. Assessing dietary restraint attitudes in obesity clinics is relevant as it can guide to understanding of those abnormal eating behaviors. And that is also another reason why myself and millions of other researchers and healthcare professionals believe that the multidisciplinary approach to the treatment of obesity is fundamental, which is the approach used in the Center for Healthy Weight Nutrition, which is phenomenal. And so what I did was created, it's pretty simple, but it's kind of cool in my opinion. It's a hunger scale, and it's not, like I said, it's not very complex, but the children ages 3 through 9 can use it and kind of take it home and use it during mealtime. Scale 1 to 10, you can simply Google a hunger scale and you'll find thousands of different websites and different people who have put together their spiel on it. So I'll pass it around, it's kind of neat. So yeah, and this picture here is just with myself and Michael, who works for the Center for Healthy Weight Nutrition. He was very helpful in this whole project, and Carrie, who's the nurse practitioner up there. So yeah. So from here, my call to action, I've thought about it a lot, and this is what, moving forward in my life, moving forward in my undergraduate career, and even going into medical school. This is my 5 focuses for my pursuit, my dream. So I'm going to continue to work hard academically, which is important, which I've always known since I was yay high is important. I have to, continue to work at that. And leadership opportunities on campus, continue to partake in those to set myself apart from my peers and different people who will be applying to the same schools that I'm applying for. Have a few different leadership opportunities that I'll be involved in on campus this coming up year. So my plate's going to be pretty full, but I can do it, right? Volunteer at local hospitals and throughout the community during the school year. Continue to, and when I say this is just not something that I want to do to make my application look lovely. Like, I'm concerned with my community. I'm concerned with the needs of the younger generation and the elders. So this is something I'm going to enjoy doing. It's not going to be like a burden. It's going to be something that I'm proud of doing. So, and I didn't really mention it before, but finances, are important. Family don't have that much. So I've noticed this being here. I've given serious thought, and I'm going to create a budget plan for myself and a saving plan because I want to prepare myself the best that I can to sit down and take the MCAT. And it's going to come out of my pocket, the review classes, and I definitely want to do all that I can to score to get the highest possible score. And also, the most exciting part of this call to action plan is summer 2015 program that I've done a little web search on. Vanderbilt has a super cool science camp that I'm going to apply for, and so does the University of Miami. They have something as well, and I think it's going to be great. University of Miami does the travel reimbursement and all that great stuff in housing. So I will apply to both of those with my application looking sparkly and shining, and with hopes of getting into one of them, and look for others as well to, gain more experience for this next summer. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everyone that's involved in search, all your help and just encouraging words and letting us pick your brain for whatever amount of time. I just thank you, and yes.